Hello again, everybody. There's Mary Hall. How you doing, Mary?
Hi guys, I'm doing good.
That's good, good. And no, not that much smoke today, huh?
Nope.
Out there from Canada. Again, my name is Dale DuFay, and we're here to document what we're doing here at Homestead 4, the fourth residence we've worked on for this landlord. And we've been trying to document everything we can every day. So we hope you enjoy these videos in the meantime during this process. But this is what we did yesterday. We got the whole outer ledger wall there, that whole south wall. You can see it's all tripled up. See that? We got it all done all the way down, straight as an arrow, from coast to coast. And then that took quite a while, so a lot of the time was taken up with that. And then we were able to get these joists installed here up to this point. And you notice we put 3 bridges on this section, on this half, because you got the end bridge for mounting, the center bridge for stability, and then the one right over the beam, which is basically a bridge that encompasses both sides, you know, so it's like perfect. And it also wound up being pretty much on the header, which is pretty cool. We could have cut these here, right here, back further, you know, the joist is back further, but I wanted as much of them on the beam as possible. In fact, we didn't touch any of these. These came from the store like this, and that's why we did it, you know, to save time, so we didn't have to cut each individual joist. And we did I mentioned yesterday we had a sheet of paneling, which will show true square because it's manufactured square from the factory. It's perfectly square. And as you can see, we laid it on there. First you line up the back, then you line up the end, which I'll show you, which we did here. You know, it's right on the edge of the 2x8 joist. And then along the back of the ledger board, I didn't push it all the way back, I just kept it out to where I can visually see that it's perfectly along the back. And then, as suspected, we didn't have to adjust anything because it wound up perfectly centered. See how the end is dead center of the 2x8 joist. So that's good. So we were able to continue on, and and because of that, like I said, we lined up with a string. We lined up the joist with that one. Both these joists are perfectly in line, even though they're offset. They're still perfectly straight in line. And then, so that means the rest of these from here on out are squared up and everything. Of course, all this bridging helps. You know, it really helps keep the joists standing upright and straight, and you know, they'll never warp or anything like that. And you can see how it's all sitting on the ledger board there. And then that's another thing we had to prep, is this ledger board. You know, we cladded over the old one, and we had to actually, on this end, we actually had to replace. Here's our you know, stock of floor joists right here. But this one we had to replace, you know, the original one. It was all rotted out. We went all the way under the door with a brand new one. So it's all solid and everything throughout. So we left it, for today, we left it actually kind of easy. We ended the day by going to Menards and getting like 20 more 2x8s, you can see there. And then we ended the day thinking, wow, tomorrow, which is today, Sunday, we left it pretty easy, pretty fun. And it's amazing when you count, see how many we used. 3 bridges I mentioned in each section, 14 and a half. They're all exactly the same length, 14 and a half inches. So we needed like 45 of them. You know, they adds up pretty quick. So that's quite a bit of lumber right there. So we went around and found all the scrap pieces we could, and were able to get quite a few. And then we set up this, you know, this jig right here on the saw, and you just bring the board up and stops. So it's exactly, every one of these bridge boards are exactly 14 and a half inches. And that's what makes everything turn out right. Once you start off with precision, and then every piece being exactly the same length throughout, then everything works out. It's like manufactured in a sense. instead of trying to custom do it. It's like already, once you start off, it's the rest is, automatic. Same with like squaring it up. Once you get it squared up, and this is the best way to square up a floor is the actual product or anything 4x8 that was manufactured. Because believe me, there's nothing more square than that sheet right there. It's going to work out just fine. So we're thinking about getting some plywood that we can walk on once we get, because we're going to be filling this area here with floor joists soon, all the way to this point, and then we're going to hop on over to this half of the house and start over there with the same procedures, this foundation and whatnot, and then to this point. And then we're waiting on the ductwork. It's going to be, who knows when that is. And then we can put the plywood on. And also Mary and I are gonna do the plumbing, which is, quite involved. We gotta have, drains there for the sink and the kitchen and the utility room and whatnot. And they all have to go all the way over there to the 6 or that 4-inch plastic pipe right there, PVC. That's where all this goes into the septic tank. So yay! So today's gonna be kind of fun. We gotta leave. We came here to do the video and get set up, and then we gotta leave and run and do an errand real quick, and then we're gonna come back this afternoon, and maybe perhaps tomorrow's video you'll see this all complete and very solid and almost Rick Sanchez perfection level here. Almost. You can like lay this level anywhere on any angle, go any direction, and the bubble will always be within the lines, not I should say Rick Sanchez perfect, but getting close. The real thing we're happy about is how sound and solid everything is from the pylons up. We just totally redid everything. Foundation, you name it. If the house isn't worth a darn if the foundation's all messed up, And so we're starting from the bottom up here, and this house is going to be really spectacular when it's all done. So, is there anything else you want to add, Mary, before we end this video?
Just want to say I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day and stay safe.
Alrighty, so with that, Mary and I thank you for watching, and we'll talk at you later. Love ya.